Hi Wild Ones, I'm Lucy and this is Pussy Powered. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 ways to heal and resensitize your pussy for pleasure after giving birth. And not just for those of you who have given birth vaginally, but also for those who have had C-sections. There is so much shame and guilt over the birth process for so many women. I personally know so many women who had this incredible, detailed, orgasmic birth plan when they were pregnant, and then when it came time to give birth, not only did things not work out the way they wanted them to, some of them had really traumatic birth experiences. And that can be really hard to come back from, and there are just not enough resources out there for moms, especially when it comes to our pleasure. Our pussies go through so much to bring a child into this world, not just during the birth, but also during the pregnancy. And once you have this tiny little human to take care of, it can be the last thing on your mind to pleasure yourself or connect with your pussy. I mean, your pussy is sore and healing, and your breasts are engorged and leaking everywhere if you're breastfeeding. And there is such a huge, not just physical, but emotional, mental, spiritual, fucking psychological change that happens when you become a mother. And every time you have another child. Now, with 4 kids of my own, I have definitely had my share of physically traumatic birth-related experiences. Now, we're about to get a little graphic here, so if you don't want to hear about the childbirth trauma that my pussy has been through, you might want to skip forward just a little bit. As I've shared in some of my other videos, I grew up with the mindset and beliefs that sexuality was not something to really explore, definitely not something to be proud of, not something to talk about, really just covering the very bare minimum. Basically, don't do it, and here are the risks if you do. Masturbation was frowned upon. Anything that could be considered overly sexy or over-sexualized was demonized. And making pleasure a priority was absolutely not something I ever heard about. And all of these negative beliefs and mindsets towards sexuality can be stored in the body as trauma. And guess where that's often stored? In the pussy and the womb. So I definitely had my set of challenges to work through on the mental and emotional and spiritual side. Physically, when I was giving birth to my oldest daughter, she was coming out the birth canal, and then a shoulder came out, ripped through, and 2 holes became 1. My entire perineum ripped open. It was probably more traumatic for my husband to witness at the time, because I was just so eager to see my baby, and I knew that things were going on down there, but I wasn't really cueing into that. The healing was a bitch. Talk about being scared to take a shit. That was some scary shit. It was scary shit. Literally. And when my second child was born, the whole labor and delivery went really smoothly. But then exactly 1 week later, I started hemorrhaging out of nowhere, and I was filling up bath towels of blood. I went to the hospital where they tested me for all kinds of things and tried to figure out what was going on, and they could not figure out why my uterus was hemorrhaging this way. And I had lost so much blood, I was unconscious much of this time. I just remember being in the emergency room, and they were shoving things up my vagina, and they did an emergency DNC, which is where they scrape the lining of the uterus to make sure that there's nothing extra tissue in there that could be maybe lodged or causing issues. Then I got a blood transfusion, and I could have died. I could have died that weekend. It was a fucking miracle that I didn't. And they never did figure out why the hell I was bleeding so much. Then skip forward 6 years, I had my 3rd child. Now this one was actually not that bad. I had some minor tearing. It did hurt like a bitch because, you know, I hadn't given birth in a few years, but overall not too bad. And then I had my 4th child. This little guy, I was in early labor for 3.5 fucking days. Finally got admitted to the hospital, and I was 4 centimeters dilated in the middle of the night. Nurse came in to check on me, and we both agreed, like, yeah, we're gonna be here all night. It's gonna be a while. 20 minutes later, his head was at the opening of my vagina, and he was coming out. My OB was actually out of town, and the baby was a couple weeks early. Her backup doctor couldn't get there in time, so we just had to find whatever doctor was on the floor on call at that time. I never never met the dude before. All I knew was like, my baby is being born and I cannot hold him in. The pressure is too much. Like my body needs to get him out. And that labor was fast and furious, and there was quite a bit of damage during that delivery. And the doctor, when he stitched me up at the bottom of the vaginal opening, he didn't do it quite right. And I also had a tear on my clit, which he had to sew up. And that was also a bitch to heal from. But it turns out that that bottom stitching that he did was so not right that I had to get it cauterized, burnt off later by my OBGYN, and that hurt like a motherfucker, and then she had to re-stitch it correctly. And for about 6 months after I delivered him, I literally felt like my vagina was gonna come out of my body anytime I did any kind of jumping or tried to lift anything heavy-ish. I've definitely dealt with incontinence, painful sex, numb vagina, numb G-spot, irritable cervix, irritable clit. So my pussy been through some shit. And I do not take this lightly, this whole journey, this process of healing, not only physically, but psychologically and emotionally, forgiving myself for not meeting whatever expectations I had of myself in giving birth, thanking my body, accepting my body, taking care of it. And now, we have made it to the part in the video where I'm actually going to share with you actionable steps that you can take to help you heal and resensitize your pussy for pleasure, because she still has so much potential for pleasure. Believe me, I am living proof of that, and the many other mothers who I've been able to help with this. So I'm really excited to share this with you. So obviously, if you've just given birth, then you have a physical healing period. Right, generally 6 weeks, and then you go to the doctor and they're like, it's okay to have sex now, although your brain and your body are like, the fuck, like I want to have sex? Probably not. During this critical physically healing period, you can do these 2 steps. 1, pussy ho'oponopono. I go more in detail about pussy ho'oponopono in my video about showering your pussy with love. In a nutshell, ho'oponopono is an ancient Hawaiian practice of forgiveness that has 4 key phrases. Thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me. It doesn't really matter so much what order you say them as much as it matters how present you are with yourself when you're saying them to yourself. And what you're gonna do in this particular kind of ho'oponopono is you're gonna take a mirror and put it right in front of your pussy where you can see your vulva, you can see your opening, you can see your perineum, and you're gonna say these things to your pussy. It might feel kind of funny when you do it for the first time, but stick with it and be present with yourself, be present with your pussy. This is a deep and powerful self-acceptance exercise. For some of you, maybe you've never even looked at your pussy. Be really intentional about the time that you spend doing this. If possible, get someone to watch the baby for 10 or 15 minutes and give you some precious quality alone time. Seriously, just a few minutes of this can be incredibly healing. The second way is to do a pussy meditation. Before I got deep into my emotional healing and my acceptance of my sexuality and sexual healing, I never would have thought of doing a pussy meditation. And it is so important to shower our pussies with love, this source of life force energy and a potential source of incredible pleasure, bliss, transformation, transcendence. So you better believe I be doing some pussy meditations up in this bitch. If you want to check out the pussy meditation I created for you, check out my video titled Pussy Meditation. Now, after you go to your checkup and your doctor gives you the okay for penetration, now we can move on to these other ways. Although, you can absolutely, and I recommend that you continue to do the pussy ho'oponopono and the pussy meditation during this part of your healing as well. The third way is to begin a yoni egg practice. Yoni eggs are an incredible tool for strengthening your pelvic floor, which, let's get real, like we need that after carrying a child in our wombs and after giving birth, and you don't have to be peeing yourself to benefit from strengthening your pelvic floor. A lot of women have chronic tension in their pelvic floors. I sure as hell did. And it takes practice to learn how to use those muscles in the pelvic floor for functional and and pleasurable purposes. For more about yoni eggs, how to get started, all the basics, be sure to check out my video titled Yoni Eggs for Your Pussy and the entire Yoni Egg series playlist for more practices and breath work and meditations you can do with your yoni egg. The fourth way is pussy de-armoring. Oh my god, I am so passionate about pussy de-armoring. I can't even, but I have to. And I actually made a whole video about this because I wanted to make sure that I could communicate the steps and the importance, the transformation potential in de-armoring your pussy. It breaks my fucking heart that so many women can't feel pleasure in their pussies and that so many of them have pain and chronic tension, and these are the same women who tell me that they struggle with self-loathing, self-judgment, self-criticism, playing small, not doing what they really want to do in their lives, not setting boundaries, not speaking up. All of this is tied to your pussy. And as you begin to de-armor her and invite her to open up, to trust, to surrender, to feel, it is a journey, it's not a one-time thing. And in fact, I'm not even gonna go into specifics on how to de-armor your pussy in this video because I wanna make sure that you get the full picture. So be sure to watch my video titled De-Armor Your Vagina and Awaken Your Pussy Powers. Fifth and final way, self-pleasure. I am a big advocate of masturbation and self-exploration. Queens, you gotta know what you like. You gotta know what feels good. You gotta spend time with your pussy. Shower her with love and attention. Having a self-pleasure ritual in place, even if it's just a few minutes a day, gives you that time to explore without the pressure or the hurry to come or to perform any certain way. It's also a great opportunity to discover what spots, what pressure, what speeds, all kinds of possibilities bring you pleasure that you just had no fucking idea. And it's also a great time to come across more spots that need de-armoring. And hey, you guessed it, I also made a video all about self-pleasure rituals, so be sure to check out my video, Self-Pleasure Ritual 101, for that. So there you have it. Those are my top 5 ways to heal and resensitize your pussy after giving birth. I'd love to hear how this goes for you. If you explore any of these ideas, be sure to watch the linked videos and keep exploring. I also want to give you a big acknowledgement for being here watching this video, taking your healing and your wholeness and your pleasure into your own hands. I know it can be a really intimidating thing to do, and you are here and I am so proud of you. So keep going. All right, wild ones, that is it for today. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more videos like this, and share with friends who you think would love what's in this video. Stay tuned for more. In the meantime, here's to your unleashing for a pussy-powered life.